Hello everyone, welcome to the 17-Mile Story Collection. Today we'll dive into the Immortal Cultivation Diary of the Young Zhao Sr. On the mountain path, the stone steps rose steep and uneven, with danger lurking on both sides. One careless step could mean falling straight into the abyss. After less than half a day of climbing, young Zhao Sen felt as if his legs were filled with lead. Sweat poured down his face, his breath coming in ragged gasps. At the foot of the mountain, the stairway had looked short and manageable, but now, step after step, it stretched endlessly before him, so long that despair began to creep into his heart. Ahead of him, a dozen other strong youths climbed as well, each one panting heavily, yet none had chosen to give up. Gritting his teeth, Zhao Sen pressed on. He knew this was his last chance. The hopeful eyes of his parents still lingered in his mind. And then behind him, a sudden cry. One boy's foot slipped. He fell into the void, his terrified scream echoing down the cliffs. "I quit. Save me." Everyone froze, staring down. In the blink of an eye, a streak of black light flashed. From nowhere, a disciple of Penglai Pavilion appeared, caught the falling youth in midair, and gently carried him down to the base of the mountain. Zhao Sen turned pale but said nothing. With trembling hands and bleeding feet, he forced himself upward, every step harder than the last. Hours blurred into days. By the second day, the other youths ahead of him had all vanished from sight. He didn't know how many had already given up. He only knew one thing: he could not stop. His legs were blistered and torn, his clothes soaked through with blood. Every stab of pain from his ruined feet made him want to collapse, but instead, he dug his fingers into the stone and dragged himself forward inch by inch. From the summit, a weary sigh drifted down with the wind. Such determination from children. Yet the path of the Tao is merciless. All effort, all in vain. A middle-aged man, face sallow and eyes filled with melancholy, descended lightly along the steps. He passed one youth after another with calm strides, his expression both pitying and resigned. When he reached Zhao Sen, he paused. This boy was the sixth he had seen, but by far the most pitiful. His entire body was drenched in blood, his clothes torn and soaked. His knees and toes were mangled beyond recognition, his climb reduced to clawing at the stone with raw hands. The man sighed softly, then asked, "Child, what is your name?" Zhao Sen's face was already a blur of exhaustion. In his heart, there was only one thought left: even if I die, I must reach the top. The middle-aged man's question? He didn't even hear it. To Zhao Sen, nothing existed except that endless staircase. The man looked deep into Zhao Sen's eyes and sighed. "Your willpower is extraordinary, but your talent is too ordinary. No fate, no destiny." Shaking his head, he walked away. By the second night, Zhao Sen's hands were torn and bleeding. The steps he climbed were marked with deep streaks of blood. Yet he no longer noticed. His body moved only through sheer willpower, clinging to life by a single breath. On the third morning, as the first rays of sunlight touched the mountain, Zhao Sen thought he finally saw the end of the stone path. But then, a merciless voice thundered in his mind like rolling thunder. "Time is up. 3 have passed. The rest have failed." A bitter smile crossed Zhao Sen's face. His body swayed and collapsed onto the steps, unconscious. At the summit, the black-robed examiner looked down at Zhao Sen, who was less than 10 meters away from the finish. His eyes showed no pity. Disciples of the Penglai sect descended, collecting the surviving boys and feeding them medicine. One female disciple reported coldly, "Senior brother, 39 tested. 25 gave up. 3 passed. 11 still alive." Her voice was steady, but her gaze was complicated. She remembered when she, too, had faced this cruel trial. Only her childhood martial training gave her enough willpower to endure. She became a mere registered disciple, and after nearly 10 years, she was still not a true one. The man in black stood cold and detached. With just a glance at the 11 unconscious youths, he spoke indifferently. "The 3 who passed, take them to the chores hall to arrange their future duties. The 25 who gave up, send them back to their families. As for the 11 who endured until the very end, once they awaken, send them all to the weapon refining pavilion. If any are fated with the craft, let them stay. If not, they too shall return to their clans. With that, he flicked his sleeve and left without a backward glance. 3 days later, inside the weapon-refining pavilion, Zhao Sen and 10 others stood pale and silent. Though Zhao Sen's physical wounds had healed, the scar upon his heart only grew deeper, gnawing at him endlessly. This test was not overseen by the black-clad man. Instead, it was a young man dressed in white. His expression was cold, his gaze sharp and merciless, as though he were staring at mere insects. This is the final trial. Whoever can walk into this room will be deemed qualified. His words were short and impatient, as if he could barely spare the time. Zhao Sen raised his eyes. Before him was an utterly ordinary house. Its doors stood wide open, revealing rows of ancient swords, long and short, arranged neatly within, their cold gleam piercing even in the dim light. One by one, the youths stepped forward. The first managed only 5 paces from the door before his face contorted in pain, and an invisible force hurled him back. Unqualified. Next, the youth in white declared flatly. Finally, it was Zhao Sen's turn. He was the 7th to attempt. The 6 before him, all had failed at the 5-pace mark. With a bitter smile, Zhao Sen summoned the last remnants of hope within his heart and stepped forward. At the 5 zhang mark, Zhao Sen walked through with ease. He froze in shock, hope surged wildly inside him, his throat went dry, and his heart pounded like a drum. Step by step, he advanced, still without resistance. The young man in white gave a surprised hum. His eyes flickered with interest, his cold expression softening ever so slightly. Don't stop. Keep going. If you can enter the chamber and earn the recognition of the weapon spirit, then even if you fail the first 2 tests, you will still be accepted as a true disciple. At those words, the other 10 boys couldn't hide the envy and bitter jealousy in their eyes. Zhao Sen's heart tightened. Once again, the image of his parents' hopeful gazes filled his mind. He gritted his teeth and pressed forward, just 3 more zhang to the door. He nervously raised his foot once more. But then, suddenly, a violent, invisible force erupted. Zhao Sen's body was flung backward uncontrollably, retreating more than 10 zhang before he finally crashed to a stop. The other boys sneered with mocking eyes. In their hearts, Zhao Sen was no different from them, someone with no chance at all. With a bitter smile, Zhao Sen felt the wound in his heart tear wider, his parents' hopeful faces fading away like smoke. The young man in white returned to his cold indifference and spat out 4 simple words. Unqualified. Next one. The 11 youths, none of them passed in the end. Apart from Zhao Sen, there was also a young girl who managed to reach within 2 zhang of the doorway, but her result was the same. That very day, once the testing was over, the group of youths were dismissed and escorted down the mountain, each accompanied back by disciples of the Penglai sect. The one tasked with sending Zhao Sen back to his clan was the same Wang family youth who had brought them here in the first place. Walking at his side were Zhao Bu and Zhao Cheng. Junior brother Zhao Bu, congratulations on becoming the disciple of an immortal. Your future will surely be limitless. The Wang youth smiled and cupped his fists. Zhao Bu wore an expression of arrogance, his posture lofty as he replied, naturally. Master already said that once I return home and finish handling some mundane affairs, he will begin passing down cultivation methods to me. Zhao Cheng curled his lips and sneered, I've always despised that smug look on your face. So what if you have a master? It's nothing special. This young master here will become a pill alchemist. Zhao Bu cast him a dismissive glance and ignored him. Instead, his gaze shifted toward the silent Zhao Sen with a mocking chuckle. He said, Go Dan, well? Didn't I tell you before that you weren't cut out for this? You and your father refused to believe me. Now you see the result for yourself. Zhao Sen lifted his head, his expression calm as he glanced at Zhao Bu. Turning instead to the Penglai youth, he said softly, Immortal, my parents are waiting for me. Please take me back quickly. Seeing that Zhao Sen dared ignore him, Zhao Bu sneered once again, Country bumpkin, spend the rest of your life in the village, just like your father, being a mere carpenter. The Penglai youth's face showed a faint, unreadable smile. Looking over the 3 boys before him, he said nothing more. With a sweep of his sleeve, he whisked them away from the gates of Penglai sect. On the way back, the fierce wind still howled through the skies. But in Zhao Sen's heart, everything had changed. He had left with hope, and now he returned with despair. Before long, the Zhao family's grand estate came into view. Zhao Sen slowly opened his eyes, and from afar he saw the courtyard filled with noise and excitement. Lanterns and decorations lit up the place. Tables of fine food and wine filled the yard, far more extravagant than any banquet his father had ever held for relatives. Almost the entire Zhao clan had gathered. Even those who were usually away purchasing timber had returned. Laughter, toasts, and chatter echoed through the night. And at the center of it all stood three people: Zhao Qianni's elder brother, Zhao Qianni himself, and their younger sister. They were surrounded by relatives, all with envy in their eyes, their words dripping with flattery, especially towards Zhao Sen's father, who suddenly became the focus of the entire clan. "Second brother, your son will definitely be chosen this time. From now on, you won't have to work as a carpenter anymore. Everyone will call you second master." One of the uncles raised his cup, laughing heartily. Another uncle, with narrow squinting eyes, chimed in while lifting his wine. "Old second, I always said you were destined for greatness. And now look, I was right. Go Dan becoming an immortal means you, as his father, will also rise above us all." Then Zhao Cheng's father stepped forward, smiling broadly, with a cup in hand. "Second brother, what a day. Your son and mine both chosen. We haven't seen each other for more than 10 years, and today we must drink until we can't stand." Zhao Sen's father looked around, seeing all those relatives who once despised him now flattering with eager smiles. His heart swelled with pride. Years of humiliation swept away in this single moment. But deep inside, there remained a heavy stone pressing upon his chest. "Go Dan, you have to be chosen." Second sister-in-law grinned from ear to ear. "Being with my second brother, you've already got a good life ahead. And with Go Dan here, soon everyone in the neighboring villages will know you." A relative nearby chimed in, "Exactly. Your kid's way smarter than mine. Go Dan's been sharp since he was little, truly a remarkable child." Another voice joined the chatter. "Go Dan's mom, we're from the same clan, sure, but interclan marriages are common now. My daughter's of age, and you're Go Dan. Well, he's handsome and capable. I've liked him since we were kids. How about we make our families in-laws?" The whole courtyard instantly buzzed with excitement. Go Dan's mother was surrounded by women chatting away, the noise rising like a festival. But behind all this, Go Dan's eldest brother watched coldly, thinking to himself, "Just wait. When the immortal returns the child, we'll see how this all ends. If Go Dan isn't chosen, let's see how you handle it, second brother." On the outside, he laughed, raised his cup, and politely responded to the relatives praising his family, but his mind was elsewhere. Just as the chatter reached its peak, suddenly, a rainbow shot across the sky, landing right in the center of the courtyard. Instantly, silence fell. Every Zhao clan member held their breath, afraid to make a sound, the air heavy with tension. For figures stood within the rainbow, radiating an aura that no one dared to challenge. The young man from Penglai Pavilion swept his gaze across the scene, quietly thinking, "When I became a disciple here, my hometown celebrated like this too." For a moment, nostalgia washed over him. He looked deeply at Zhao Sen. He knew the boy was about to face trials no adult could endure. "The way is merciless." The youth shook his head. With a swift motion, his sword light flashed, and he vanished from the courtyard. "Cultivators can't have worldly attachments. Handle your affairs, and in 3 days, I will come for you." The voice carried from afar, cold and commanding, sweeping across the courtyard like the wind, unquestionable, unstoppable. As soon as the immortal left, Go Dan's eldest uncle rushed forward, eyes shining with excitement. "Immortal. Did the immortal accept you as a disciple?" Zhao Bu wore a look of pure pride, speaking arrogantly, "Of course. My master said that within 10 years, I will become one of the top disciples of Penglai Pavilion." Zhao Bu's father beamed with joy, slapping his son's shoulder heavily, laughing heartily. "Excellent. Zhao Bu, you'll become an immortal. Our Zhao family will have an immortal, ha-ha." Meanwhile, Zhao Cheng's father looked anxious, staring at his son, about to ask a question. Zhao Cheng yawned lazily and smirked. "Dad, no need to ask. Your son is already a disciple of Penglai Pavilion." His father drank deeply from his cup, in pure elation. Zhao Bu, however, sneered, his tone mocking and sarcastic. "Third uncle, you've raised a fine son." Yet he shamed the Zhao family, flattering the immortal in front of everyone, giving gifts, and in the end, barely earning the rank of a medicine boy. Zhao Cheng raised an eyebrow, a teasing smirk on his face. "I'm fine with that. Let's see whose cultivation will be stronger in the end, and then we'll see who actually brings shame to the Zhao family." Go Dan's father kept his eyes on his son. From Go Dan's face, he caught a hint of decline, a shadow of something off, and his heart tightened with an uneasy premonition. "Go Dan, how are you?" Go Dan's mother asked, full of hope, her voice trembling slightly. The entire courtyard fell silent. It was as if the very air had frozen. Everyone was holding their breath. Thank you for watching, waiting for the answer. If you enjoyed my video, please leave a comment, give it a like, and share it with others. Your support gives me even more motivation.